In Ecuador, citizens go to the polls to elect their next president in an election campaign marked by violence. The Israeli regime announced the postponement of its planned ground invasion of North Gaza. And in Egypt, the Arab League denounced and condemned Israel's war crimes against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Sunday, Ecuador holds an election day to choose its next president between Luisa González and Daniel Noboa. Over 13 million citizens are called to the polls. The ballot takes place under a state of exception decreed by the current president, Guillermo Lasso, and in the middle of the biggest wave of insecurity in the country. More than 53,000 police officers and about 43,000 members of the armed forces are deployed throughout the national territory to guarantee security during the day. During the first report at 10 a.m. local time, the president of the National Electoral Council, Diana Atamain, said no major incidents had been reported so far and that a citizen was arrested in the Amazon region before he could alter the voting process. Atamain added that voter turnout was over 11% at that time.
It is important to indicate that at 10 a.m. the participation is 11.78% and the average voting time for each citizen is 1 minute and 39 seconds.
To go deeper in the analysis of these key elections, we welcome Fernanda Andrade, activist and spokeswoman of Acción Jurídica Popular in Ecuador. Welcome, Fernanda.
Hi, good morning.
It's a pleasure
to be here with you.
It's our pleasure to have you here with us. Fernanda, Ecuadorians go to the polls in the context of a major security crisis, an issue that has been center point during the campaign. How is the election day unfolding? What is the feel of the people on the street?
Well, we're having an unprecedented election day because only 2.5 years have passed in the mandate of a government that had a shamefully low rate of unpopularity and that has decreed across death to avoid being judged politically and to be able to take care of the institutions that protect the government. In addition, we are experiencing new social scenarios such as violence and insecurity. Let's see if political rivalries do not increase the level of conflict during voting. As to the political data, Daniel Noboa is the right presidential candidate who surprised everyone for the results obtained by coincidence after the violent circumstances around the ex-candidate Villavicencio. Noboa had been leading in the polls at the campaign rally, but right after the second public debate in which Luisa González demonstrated her political experience, her chances of, or the Revolution Ciudadana chances raised considerably until this point so far, where we have a technical tie. We are waiting to see where the election of the 15 of undecided voters goes.
Fernanda, two opposing models are on the table in today's election. Ecuadorians have to choose between a left-wing candidate, Luisa González, and a right-wing candidate, Daniel Noboa. What are their government plans? What is the difference in the proposals between these two candidates?
Yes, regarding work plans, both candidates offer profound changes in their management for the next year and a half. However, candidate Luisa González bases her work plan on the return to social investment, which was the main characteristic of the Correísta government, while Daniel Noboa, from the right, has focused his speech on offers to improve work and fix the crime and prison situation. One of the curious things in the campaign of Noboa and his vice presidential candidate, Verónica Abad, has been their public statements about their beliefs and knowledge of rights and policies, and it has been kind of disturbing, so to say, scary to me. Abad has had a libertarian speech and has spoken that education and health should not be managed by the state. They have not shown knowledge or respect for pregnant women's situation, the poor class, feminism, and finally, Noboa has stated his support for Israel in this genocide against the Palestinian people.
Fernanda, in the context that Ecuador is right now, the results of these elections are paramount, not only for the nation, but also for its role in the regional and international arena. You just referred to Noboa's position towards Israel and Palestine, but the results of this election, depending on who wins, how could Ecuador's foreign relation with other nations, its foreign policy, change?
I think it will change a lot of things in the case Noboa wins this election because his programs, his economical program, his relationship with other countries are based on the enterprise interests. So they are close. They are very close to Presidente Guillermo Lasso right now. So we will have the same. We will continue the same model, the same political model, which is based on the neoliberalistic strategic politics. We think we have another scenario. We're living now another scenario after the political dead cross. That is another real event for us that made changes in the political reality.
Thank you, Fernanda, for your inputs and, of course, for your time hearing from the South.
Yes, thank you very much. Maybe the last thing, if you allow to me, is to say to the country, no, that we have another scenarios here. We have the first political force elected in the assembly, that is the progressivism, and that is the majority of people in the country supporting a model of social equity. We're facing the second electoral round to decide who can take on the high challenge of getting out of the deepest hole that Ecuador could have fallen into in its Republican history. The level of abandonment and cynicism had not been seen before in any other government. What was clear was that there was an effort to destroy the country and morally tear it apart. We have never had together the deepest crisis of violent deaths, murders, and prisons due to the state neglect and the wave of migration that exceed the previous one in the 90s. So the new president must have an effective leadership and briefly take control of the sectors that have been in crisis, such as those threatened by drug politics, prisons, and crime as a result of all of them above. Above all, it must lay the foundations for social rescue, no? Okay. This will be a transition period. So what we hope is that the next government leave the way open to correct and rearm a sick nation beaten by weak institutions and humanitarian crisis due to migration and unemployment. I think that people must awaken and support the processes of social organization that control and build popular power from the basis of solidarity and collective construction with sovereignty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fernanda, for your time. We were analyzing Ecuador's key elections with Fernanda Andrade, activist and spokeswoman of Acción Jurídica Popular. We'll continue covering, of course, the polls in upcoming news brief. For now, let's take a short break. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. The announced ground invasion by Israeli forces that would take place this weekend in northern Gaza has been postponed, although there have been raids in different areas of Gaza and the West Bank. They are not part of the operation with which Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu intends to terrorize Palestinians in Gaza even more. Officials of the occupying forces claim that the reason for the postponement is that the weather conditions are not favorable for pilots and drone operators. Hours earlier, the Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian declared that he was aware of the scenarios prepared by Hezbollah and warned of serious consequences. On Saturday, the Israeli military forces killed at least 300 people in Gaza, as in its previous attacks, the civilian population was targeted by the military operation. The Ministry of Health in Gaza pointed out that most of the victims are women and children and confirmed 800 wounded. In this new attack, one of the fatalities was the dean of the Faculty of Medicine of the Islamic University, Dr. Amer Farwana. His whole family was killed after an airstrike by the occupying forces. Adding these new attacks on Sunday, the Ministry of Health updated that the death toll rose to 2,384, while the number of wounded has already exceeded 10,250. Let's learn some more about the turns of events in the region. In the framework of the Israeli attack on Palestine, the civilian population continues to be targeted, leaving thousands dead and wounded, while many locals maintain their position to stay in their nation. In a sense, neighbors denounce the humanitarian crisis they face and at the same time express their desire to stay in their homeland.
They are randomly shelling on our innocent people. What do these people have to do with the war? These are children. I have a girl who is a cancer patient, and I can even take her to the Turkish hospital. Only God is aware of our situation. We are begging for a piece of bread. Where shall I go and leave my country, my home, and my children? Where should I go to become a member of the diaspora and live in the sadness and poverty? No, I won't leave my country. I'm staying here until I die.
Pope Francis calls for humanitarian corridors to allow the delivery of essentials to the Gaza Strip, which is under heavy Israeli bombardment.
Humanitarian law must be respected, especially in Gaza, where it is urgent and necessary to guarantee humanitarian corridors and help the population.
Meanwhile, demonstrations continue around the world to support the Palestinian cause and denounce Israeli aggression and Western powers' support for Benjamin Netanyahu's administration. On Sunday in Los Angeles, the United States, thousands of people rallied outside the Israeli consulate in that West Coast city to protest against Israeli colonization and call for a free state of Palestine. Demonstrators, including some Jewish Americans, lined the streets in one of the largest protests the city has seen in recent months. While Palestine worsens the shortage of food, water, fuel, and medical supplies due to the Israeli blockade. Aid agencies are warning of an impending humanitarian crisis.
Onosuke, our government has been enabling a genocide. For too long, our tax dollars have gone to fund colonization, apartheid, crimes against humanity, and we're sick of it. The people want Palestinian liberation.
We unequivocally don't equate our colonizers with the colonized or the occupiers with the occupied. Oppressed people have a right to resist and defend themselves by any means necessary for sovereignty and for liberation from an oppressive regime. Israel is the oppressive regime that's in question right now.
We now go with the Gaza correspondent Nur Haisin, who will comment on the situation in Gaza.
Right now we are at Shuhada Al-Aqsa Hospital, and what you're seeing is that this is Abu Lashin family, where 13 people were killed in an Israeli airstrike on their home in southern Gaza. We're talking about a whole family, 13 people, men, women, children. Actually, the little bodies of the children arrived to the hospitals shredded in parts. And at the same time, new bodies arrived to the hospitals because of new Israeli strikes on southern Gaza. These 3 bodies basically are for children. What is written on the bodies is that this first body belongs to a 10-year-old child, and they recognized her from her face. and the other body parts are basically shredded. Around the bodies, we have the family members, the relatives who came to say the last goodbye. They are also taking these bodies to be buried. We are losing words. We have never ever witnessed anything like that. The doctors gave us, the journalists, they gave us these masks because of the very bad smell that we started smelling from the fridge of the bodies, because basically there is no fuel. No fuel means there is no electricity to generate the fridge here to keep the bodies. So basically the bodies have been there since yesterday, and because they want us to not get infected, they gave us these masks. The smell was unbearable. And here are some people who are trying to fill their tanks with some water because basically they don't have water at their homes. This is the situation where I am. This is Noor Harazin, TeleSUR, Gaza.
Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian warns Tel Aviv and the international community that if Israel launches a ground offensive in Gaza, it will unleash a great earthquake. The head of Persian diplomacy assured that he is aware of the scenario set up by Hezbollah in Lebanon, affirming that any step taken by the resistance will cause a huge earthquake in the Zionist entity. For the first time since the war broke out, the foreign minister addressed the Iranian government and its allies, warning them that they must stop the crimes against the Palestinian people before it is too late. The Arab League accused Israel of committing war crimes in the Gaza Strip. The organization's Secretary General, Hossam Saki, confirmed that Tel Aviv's orders to displace 1 million Palestinians from their land cannot be tolerated. The Arab League accused Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of carrying out a large-scale land invasion plan and recalled that international law prohibits the targeting of civilians, so such war crimes cannot be accepted. The diplomat also confirmed in an interview to an Egyptian media that they are working to reach a ceasefire that would allow the distribution of humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people. Lebanese national Hissam Abdallah, killed this Thursday at the border between Lebanon and Israel, is the 10th journalist victim of the Israeli security forces since the beginning of the Al-Aqsa flood operation launched by the Palestinian resistance on October 8th. Her colleague Alejandro Kirk was at his funeral.
Hissam Abdallah was reporting on Friday afternoon when he was killed.
I think the deliberate killing of journalists is for obvious reasons. It serves them to kill civilians later on without anyone seeing them or being able to report them.
These are two of the 6 surviving colleagues who today inevitably relive in their minds every millisecond of the brutal Israeli rocket strike. Hundreds of upsetting and outraged people gathered in this house next to the family home. The procession then walked through the narrow streets traced by Mediterranean history to the mosque, where prayers are said and explanations are given.
We were brothers and sisters of the media. Every people of all humanity use the media. You are the media. You are the soldiers working for the cause of Allah. You are the soldiers of God. You are the soldiers of the resistance. You are the soldiers against the Israeli occupation.
They also rebuke and suffer.
The journalist criticism is the death of Israel with the journalist methods. Their weapons are the camera and the written word. May Allah be with you and watch over Abdallah. There is no God but Allah and the journalist Abdallah.
Desde Hiam, en el sur del Líbano, Alejandro Kirk, TeleSUR.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.